When we think of the Mahabharata, we usually think of these epic battles, right? Gods, warriors, amazing powers. But really, at its heart, it's a story about incredible heartbreak. And today, we're going to look at one of the most powerful moments in the whole epic. A moment where a mother's grief was so strong, it literally changed the fate of a god. So let's really think about that. I mean, what does happen when a mother's grief becomes a weapon? This is the question that's going to drive our whole story today. We're about to see how pure, raw, personal pain can explode into a force so powerful it can actually bend the entire cosmic plan. All right, so picture this. We're on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. It's a mess. The fighting is over, the ground is soaked in blood. And in the middle of all this devastation stands a queen, completely broken by her loss. And she's about to face down the one being she blames for it all. But here's the thing. Before we can even get to the curse itself, you have to understand the woman who spoke those words. This wasn't just any queen. This was Gandhari, the queen of Hastinapura. And trust me, she was anything but ordinary. Her power came from this incredible inner strength and devotion. Okay, so this is absolutely key. When she married the king, Dhritarashtra, who was blind, what did she do? She decided to blindfold herself for the rest of her life to share his world. I mean, can you imagine that? And this act, this incredible act of empathy, it wasn't a sign of weakness, no way. It was the source of her power. All that devotion, all that sacrifice, it built up this immense spiritual energy inside her. And on top of all that, Gandhari was a mother. Not just to one or two kids, she was the mother of 100 sons. 100. The Kaurava princes. And I really want you to hold on to that number, because the sheer scale of it is what makes the tragedy that's coming just so devastating. And that tragedy, of course, is the Great Kurukshetra War. Now, from where Gandhari was standing, this whole thing was a nightmare that never should have happened. She saw it coming, she pleaded with her sons, tried to get them to choose peace, but they just wouldn't listen. And let's be clear, this wasn't some war against a faraway kingdom. This was family fighting family. It was a bitter, ugly feud. You had Gandhari's 100 sons, the Kauravas, on one side, and on the other, their own cousins, the Pandavas, all fighting for control of the throne. This didn't just happen overnight. The road to this war was long, built on years and years of jealousy and rivalry. Gandhari tried, She really tried to talk sense into her oldest son, Duryodhana, to steer him away from his own greed. But it was no use. Her voice was just drowned out by the drums of war, leading to 18 straight days of pure carnage that basically wiped out an entire generation. So that brings us right back to where we started, on that battlefield. The war is finally over. The Pandavas have won. But for Gandhari, there's no celebration. There's no victory. All she sees is ruin, a field of death, and a loss so big it's almost impossible to comprehend. Just let that sink in for a second. All 100 of her sons, dead. Not a single one survived. Her entire legacy, just gone, wiped out. And it's right here, in this moment of pure, unbearable pain, that her grief just transforms. It boils over and becomes something else entirely, something powerful and something terrifying. This is it. This is the moment her grief becomes a weapon. She looks right at Lord Krishna, the divine being who guided the Pandavas, the one she feels could have stopped all this, and she just lets loose. All that pent-up power from her years of devotion, now fueled by absolute agony, she unleashes this horrifying curse. She tells him that his entire family, his entire clan, will be destroyed just like hers was. And that he will die all alone, like a common animal. Now, you'd think a god would just laugh that off, right? Or strike her down, counter to curse, do something. But what Krishna does next, well, it's one of the most stunning moments in the entire Mahabharata. He just accepts it with total humility. No arguments, no defense. He just takes it. Because Krishna, with his divine sight, he understood something incredible. He knew that her curse wasn't just raw anger. It was actually a crucial part of the universe's grand plan. So why? Why was it so necessary? Because her curse was the trigger. It was the catalyst that would bring an entire age to a close and usher in a new one.
By accepting his own tragic fate, Krishna was signaling the beginning of the Kali Yuga, the age of darkness and conflict. Think about that. A single mother's personal, private grief was the very thing that pushed the whole cosmos into a new era.
And that's why Gandhari's story is so much more than just a tragedy. It's remembered as this profound lesson about justice, about karma, about consequences, and about the absolutely immense power that's hidden inside the human heart. So, what do we take away from all this? Well, her curse shows us that our emotions, they have real power, real weight in the world. It's also this amazing example of how free will and destiny are tangled up together. Her sons chose war, but the catastrophic result was kind of baked into the cosmic plan. It's a huge lesson in karma. But most of all, Gandhari herself becomes this incredible symbol, a symbol of fierce devotion and the shocking, almost scary strength that can come from absolute heartbreak.
And so I want to leave you with this final thought. It's really easy to look at the Mahabharata and see a simple story of good guys versus bad guys, a righteous victory. But Gandhari's curse just shatters that simple view. It forces you to ask a much harder question. When you put yourself in her shoes, standing in the ruins of your entire world, as a mother who has lost literally everything, where do you find the justice in that?